Hello everybody, I am Fuzzyface and welcome back once again to this Motorsport Manager playthrough. We're back once again with this Williams career part 7 today of the career mode that we've lovingly entitled The Resurrection of Williams Grand Prix. The Grand Prix team we're trying to resurrect at the moment. It's been a so-so season. We've done 6 races so far. We've managed 1 points finish out of those 6 races. Robert Kubica had an amazing race. Finished 3rd place. That would have been Tondela, the Portuguese Grand Prix. If you watch that race, you will know he had an amazing start after the safety car. Managed to get himself up to 4th place. Bottas had a problem which knocked him back down the order. I think it was Bottas. Some reason he had to come into the pits to fix some parts. We managed to go up onto the podium. At least I think it was one. We managed to get up onto the podium. That has got us 15 points, which sees us pretty much safe for this season. It would need one of these teams to score more than us to see us relegated down to F2. If you've not played Motorsport Manager before, you can be relegated if you do finish bottom of the pile in the constructors. I'll just have a quick look. I think Art are winning both F2 and GP3, and they are comfortably leading GP3. So we're going to possibly be seeing Art, who I think have Jack Aitken and George Russell in their car. We're going to be seeing that team in Formula 1 next season, unless something really goes wrong and we see Downs or Prema catch them up. Meanwhile, on the car, we're concentrating on getting a few engine upgrades rolled out. Again, if you've seen the previous videos, you will know I have limited my upgrade schedule. I can only introduce Aero upgrades after the 4th race, or for the 4th race by the time Tondela rolls around, the equivalent of the Spanish Grand Prix. Power upgrades can go into the car from Vancouver, and then from then on we can only introduce upgrades at Milan, which is 3 upgrades, any upgrade across the car, and then once again at Phoenix. Although I don't think I'm going to be introducing any new parts for the car this season into Phoenix, depending on what we're sort of like getting towards that point. Once we get past Milan, I'm sort of going to abandon work on this year's car and concentrate on riskier parts and get next year's car as good as possible heading into next season. As regards to the HQ, we've been building these bits to the HQ from the start of the season. The forecasting centre is nearly up to level 2. That will be done before the next race. I think we're going to be able to see far enough Guildford. It's going to be a really rainy race, some heavy rain at some point, but it won't be ready for Munich. The testing track is 8 weeks away and the factory shouldn't be finished until the end of the season. So next season we're going to have 8 slots here. We currently switched focus to performance. We try to get the new front wings, the brakes, the rear wings that we've got in the car all up to their performance potential. It's 35 days after the race that they will be up there. It takes quite a long time to upgrade the performance of these parts. Meanwhile, the engine we've got can get to a 959. I'm really concentrating on the engine at the moment because we've slipped to 7th in the table, which is what our strongest part was at the beginning of the season. We were 5th overall for top speed. We are now down in 7th. We're starting to lose ground here, so we need to sort of try and catch that area of the car back up before we get to Milan. Milan, a pretty heavy engine track. If we can get the engine pretty much back up to scratch for there, we should be able to have a decent race at Milan. Whether that is going to happen or not, we never know, but we're getting into the British Grand Prix this week, and there's no real point to these sponsors. We've got no chance of finishing 2nd or above. We could finish 3rd or above, but 50,000, 100,000 doesn't really make a massive amount of difference. We'll just take the same tyres as we always do. 843 gives us enough running in qualifying to do what we need to do, and in practice. Both guys content with the car. Overall comments on the cars though, we've got they both think the car's a bit naff. Why are you giving me such a piece of rubbish to drive around in, boss? I'm a human being, I need my dignity. But Sorokin's happier with the balance of the car. He seems to think he's got the better parts, although Kubica's car is slightly better, although I guess it's because of what we've been doing with the upgrades, so maybe we need to even these parts back up before we get into the race. So Sorokin's got the better brakes. No one's got a new engine yet. Sorokin's got the better front wing, whereas Kubica's got the better gearbox and the better rear wing. There's a big gap there, so maybe if we swap the gearbox out here, what is Guildford? Right, so maybe if we switch the brakes around, does that make them a little bit more 6% to 8%? That's a little bit more balanced now in their happiness in this car. So we're going to jump in. We'll skip over practice and qualifying, run those off camera like usual. Might include some qualifying in next season's videos, but I have to see, try to keep the videos as short as possible just for rendering times and uploading times. It adds like 5 minutes on. If we start qualifying a little bit higher up the order, there's a little bit more excitement in qualifying. I might introduce that into the videos next season, but we'll just have to wait and see. But anyway, we'll jump into the British Grand Prix and we'll be back with the grid in a second. So here we go with the grid for the British Grand Prix. As usual, we've got Lewis Hamilton and Sebastian Vettel on the front row of the grid. Swapped around a little bit, it's just usually these two, other than the time we had Kevin Magnussen somehow in second place. Valtteri Bottas performing a little bit better than usual, up into third place. The championship leader Daniel Ricciardo, fourth place. He always seems to finish a little bit lower down, but his race pace always seems to be good. Currently still leading the driver's standings. Max Verstappen in fifth, Kimi Raikkonen in sixth place in the Ferrari. The McLaren makes its first appearance on the grid. Fernando Alonso seventh place. Carlos Sainz, who's got a dodgy neck, as we've seen a lot of dodgy necks this season, 8th place for the Renault team. His teammate right behind him in 10th place, Nico Hulkenberg 9th. Van Dorn performing a little bit better. He performed a little bit better in the last race in qualifying as well. I think he picked up points in the last race, 9th place for him. Renault qualifying well once again, but as we've seen, their strategy or whatever has just been really letting them down this season. They're currently sat bottom of the constructors standings, and as you can see here, 11th and 12th, Sergei Sorokin 11th, Robert Kubica 12th. As you can see, this is effectively the back row of the grid because there was rain in qualifying for the first half of qualifying. If you've heard me explain before, what we do is run just one qualifying session. We don't have the knockout because I don't really think it works in this game. When rain comes around, if you have really short 10-minute things and you get rain, it sort of throws out the order, and you get, sometimes you get the Mercedes going out in Q1. I don't really like that happening in the game, but Sergei Sorokin on 10 form as well. But anyway, as you can see, as we go to the 7th row of the grid, we're 1.5 seconds behind. Then we start seeing these cars at 3 seconds behind. For some reason, they did 2 laps really early on in qualifying for some reason, and that was it. And then they didn't come out again when the track dried up. With 15 minutes left in the qualifying session, I don't know whether they wanted to hold on to, as we can see, Charles Leclerc starting on a warm pair of super softs. So whether they didn't bring, the AI is not really bringing enough super softs or the softest tyre compound, that they didn't feel comfortable coming out again for another qualifying. I've no idea, but as we can see, Charles Leclerc 13th, Pierre Gasly 14th, Force India of Ocon 15th, Roman Grosjean in the Haas 16th, Sergio Perez 17th in the Force India. Force India struggling around this British Grand Prix track, but as we can see, they're on new super softs as well, so they're going to be struggling here. Only going a short distance. 18th for Brendan Hartley, 19th for Kevin Magnussen, and 20th, usual, Ericsson bringing up the rear in the Alfa Romeo Sauber. As you can see, we're on the medium tyre. We're the only team on the medium tyre. I'm a little bit surprised at that. If we go here, as you can see, if you can just see, just before lap 14, it looks like the rain, that is when the rain is starting. We're going to sort of try and baby these tyres, just sort of ease them through up until that point. They can do about 13 to 15 laps or so, if not a little bit more. We're just going to try and get through to that point, and hopefully our first pit stop will be when the rain starts. Kubica flying off the line here. He's up alongside the Renault and behind the McLaren of Van Dorn. Can't make any of those moves stick. Sorokin under pressure though. We would expect to be a little bit slower than these cars in the early going because we're on the hardest compound tyre, but we're making up some pretty decent ground with Kubica. Sorokin moving down the order, but Kubica up into the points places here. He's got Carlos Sainz in his sights, although the weather is pretty, as we can see, the temperature is really low, so it's going to be a challenge try to keep heating these tyres and do what we want to do. Sorokin already moved back down to 18th place, even though he's in really good form at the moment, 9.6, just really dropping down the order. Daniel Ricciardo sets the quickest lap of the race on the first lap. This Red Bull really performing this season. Red Bull, as you, if you've watched before, are winning the Constructors' Championship. Kubica now just sort of settling in behind this pack that's squabbling in front. The Renaults, the Ferrari, the McLaren of Alonso. I think Verstappen's leading that pack as well. We're sort of losing time to that little pack in front, which we're on the hardest compound tyre. So we're just going to sort of baby these tyres, as we said. Sort of try and look after everything until we sort of see that rain coming in. It looks like it's going up to full wets pretty quickly around that time as well. So if we can get through to about lap 15 on this medium tyre, And they can do a little bit further. 18. It didn't, I'm not sure it said that at the start of the race, or maybe I was just looking. Maybe I was looking at that tyre before the race. But we can easily get through to the point where we only need to do that one pit stop before we get to that point. All these cars won't have to pit before then, and then pit again. So that might be able to put us in a really good position by the time that comes around, or whether the other cars with their super softs on and them going to a softer compound again, whether that will work out for them. We're just going to see which strategy sort of wins out here. So maybe we're going to have to start holding back on these tyres just to make sure we can get through that to that point. Sometimes the tyres don't hold out long enough, but as we know, we can get the hardest tyre compound down to pretty much threadbare, down to 0%. So we'll just keep it going like this. We want to keep the track position that we're in. Maybe with Sorokin, he's just having a really bad Grand Prix, dropped from 11th down to 18th, although as we know, these other cars around us are a lot quicker than us. We still have the 10th worst car, the worst overall car on the grid. Nothing we can really do about that at the moment. Kubica now 1.5 seconds behind Carlos Sainz. I don't really want to push the tyres because, as we know, we want to get through to that point. So we're just going to have to sort of hang on. Sorokin's now moved down to 19th place. So let's speed this up a tiny bit here. I'm going to the quickest just until we can see something start to happen. Kubica 118. We're about a second behind, so we're losing about a second a lap at the moment. Although we know these tyres are going to start dropping away. They're just running them as they are at the moment. Sort of dropping a long way behind these other cars in the top of the order. So we're going to have to keep pushing with the fuel as well, just to try and keep where we are. Sorokin's managed to regain up into 18th place. Kubica 2.8, 2.6. So we're going to start seeing some of these cars starting to drop off pace-wise now. As we can see, they're in the 117s now. Maybe we should start. We've done 8 laps. We're down to 6. We've worn off 40% of the tyres. So even pushing like this, we should be able to get this through. Just keep this level up. Is that going to do damage to the front wing? If you push with the driving style, that usually damages the aero parts of the car, but it looks like things are holding up there for Kubica. The rear wing's a little bit degraded and the brakes as well, so we'll just have to keep an eye on that as the race wears on. We're starting to see a lot of cars start to come into the pits as well, so they're already in the pits. What are they lapping at? We're not going to be able to see until we've done a few laps, so we're going to start seeing more cars come into the pits. Kubica moves up to 8, Sorokin in 12th. A lot of them have gone for the super soft again. Ericsson did one pit stop and came in for a used pair of super softs. So he's possibly going to have to pit again before this heavy rain starts. Although the heavy rain's only going to be here for a couple of laps. So that is going to be a quandary there. Should we go for the intermediate or should we go for the wet tyre and then make that pit stop for the inters? Inters can do about 14 laps. So it should see you through to the end of the race. Or should we go wets and then onto an inter, try and get a couple of quick laps in? If the computer's on inters, I'm guessing we're just going to have to wait and see what the AI does and maybe just match them as well. And we've got the other cars starting to pit. So what are they doing? They're in the 117.4, so they're not really lapping any quicker than us. So we're in a pretty good position here. If we can sort of make this strategy work, maybe we'll just get on the inters and try and make that work and get through to the end of the race. I don't think Sorokin can do 14 laps on an inter though, so we might change up his strategy. He can go over the wet and the inters, whereas if Kubica can get through to about lap, what, 15, 16 maybe, and then pit for an intermediate tyre, whether that would work out for him. Hamilton's been in for his first pit stop. He's out ahead of us. He's leading the race, a 20-second pit stop, so he should still be comfortably ahead of Vettel, Ricciardo and Bottas. Sorokin 7th, a little bit further down, 6 seconds behind Kubica here. 5th place, so hopefully things are going to work out for here. We should be able to move up into 2nd place there. So we're ahead of these. They've gone for the intermediate tyres already, so these are Vettel, Ricciardo, Bottas are going to start dropping behind here. So that puts Kubica in a really good position here, because these cars are going to start dropping away, and as we can see, we're possibly going to be able to start getting past them. So Sorokin should be able to overtake these cars. He should be a lot quicker than Vettel. Van Dorn still needs to pit, whether he's going to try and drag those tyres out. As you can see, we're a lot quicker than Ferrari, so this puts Sorokin in a really good position now, although obviously we still do have to pit. They're not going to pit when the time comes for that. Can we get far enough in front whilst the track is like this, whilst these other cars are as they are, that we can then get onto the inters? It looks like all the AI cars are just going to go for inters, although they may need to swap back from those. No. The rain's going to stop pretty comfortably, so it's just whether we go for wet intermediates or whether we go for wets. I don't think any of that. We're going to just see what Hamilton does on this lap. What's Hamilton going to come out for intermediates? It looks like all the AI cars, there's going to be more laps where the intermediate's effective. So what are we lapping at? 116s. We're seeing these cars at 132s. We're going to have to decide this lap, aren't we? Are we still lapping any quicker? Quicker than the last lap still? No, we're starting to lose time as well now as the rain starts to get heavier. So what are we going to do? Everyone else is out on intermediate, so it seems the sensible choice. It's possibly only 2 laps where the wet tyre is effective, which isn't worth that extra pit stop. If we go safe, there's a chance of a risky pit stop. Yeah, we don't want any mistakes, so we're going to go safe. It doesn't add much time on. 1.6, 2.4 seconds. 2 seconds, so it only adds about half a second on, which seems we're going to just take it safe here. We don't want to lose any time. Kubica in the lead of this Grand Prix at the moment. We're going to get Sorokin in for his inters as well. We'll keep him on a safe pit stop, or would it be worth? No, he's still going to be 7th after the pit stop, hopefully. So Kubica into the pits. Where's he going to feed back out of the pits here? 5th place. He's up into Sorokin, back out into 7th place. So he's in a really good position as well. These tyres can do 12, 13-ish laps. We only need to get them through to about lap, so we can push on these tyres. We'll just go push mode. We can keep the fuel burning as it is for the time being. Although we've got to be careful that we don't crash out pushing this car too much, because we're on the wrong type of tyre for the weather. And that is something that can happen, so maybe we'll try recover the fuel. No, we'll keep pushing on the tyres, and we'll just take down the engine mode so we don't end up crashing. I've had that happen before. We got lightning, heavy rain. We do have fresher tyres, so we'll just sort of hang back a bit, wait, and we'll just see what our lap times are like after this lap. And there we go, both cross the line. So Kubica's doing a 126.2. Both our cars pretty much matching each other. The cars behind, well, Gasly putting a 124.9. That's pretty good for him. 125's around us. So it looks like hopefully we might be able to get both cars into the points this time. With that, doing that extra long stint on those medium tyres seems to have been the right strategy call. We just want to get through now. The weather is going to improve towards the end of the race, and the temperatures are going to increase maybe to the 18s, maybe up to the 20s. So a little bit warmer weather to finish the Grand Prix on. We're just recovering fuel at the moment. A big gap there. Back to Verstappen, whereas Ricciardo, Vettel leading the race. Hamilton's made 2 pit stops, as we saw. Vettel went on the intermediates pretty early. That sort of worked out for him. Hamilton hasn't been able to make it work for him, having that earlier pit stop and then making a second pit stop for the intermediates hasn't quite worked out for him. He's 1.2 seconds behind, lapping a little bit slower than Vettel at the moment, so Vettel in prime position to win this Grand Prix at the moment. As Kubica starts coming down, I'm going to start thinking about when we're coming in for this pit stop. Should we try coming around lap 22 and then we can go for the super soft to finish the race? That would be the ideal position I would think that we would want to be going for. We've got a little bit of a gap behind us, but enough of us a gap that we can go for the safe pit stop again. Don't want any mistakes ruining where we are at the moment. Sorokin on for his first points finish of the season as well. Doing 119.3s. No real difference between his lap times, although we've seen some 118s further down the order. Is Van Dorn gaining on him by about 0.2 a lap. So Sorokin might drop down a few places. We're just going to have him hold on here. And we're going to get into attack mode on these tyres as well. just as we lead into the pits. We'll go back high mode as well, 7 laps. It's enough to regain this fuel once we've gone high mode for a little bit longer. So we're going to start thinking about maybe another lap on this tyre, although we're starting to see some coming into the pits. What are they going to be doing on this out lap? There's not much time to track. The track is pretty much dried off. Oh, we got Kubica out. He's gone past the pits. Not that it really matters. We're going to get into... Ooh, could we look after those? 7 laps remaining. I think we could. If we just look after him, yeah, because we can't really push the engine as well, because the engine's about to go. We'll go for that safe pit stop for Sorokin. Where's he going to feed back out into? A 9th place, although we've still got some cars that need to pit. Hamilton stayed out as well. Vettel's in. So can we get back out into... Oh, we need to queue up his pit stop as well. Don't want to leave him out that extra lap, do we? And we'll go safe, balanced, safe, balanced, safe. Oh, we'll go safe. We can't risk making any mistakes in the pit stop. There we go, into the pits. Have these other cars sort of gained on us whilst we did that? No, we're back out into 5th place as well, just where we were. Verstappen behind. We're now on a quicker tyre, so we'll go into neutral on that tyre. We'll go neutral as well with Sorokin, and we'll recover this fuel as well, as we need to do. We can't really push the fuel anymore. What is Verstappen doing at the moment? He's pushing all out, so he might be able to catch Kubica. Maybe we can go high mode as well on the tyres. So, not much longer in this Grand Prix to go. 5 laps remaining for Kubica in a second as he crosses the start-finish line. Both cars in the points. More importantly, where are the Haas cars? So Magnussen is down here. Grosjean has got a point. So this could put us somewhere close. We can go to the line. It does put us above Haas by 7 points if we can keep this as we are, which puts us up to 6 in the constructors. A little bit of extra money if we can keep that towards the end of the season. A lot better this season than what we were expecting to do, although this race has been pretty much all to do with strategy, not the performance of the cars. Although the drivers and the cars done a really good job at holding on at this point of the Grand Prix to these positions. We're lapping. Can't see where we're lapping. Verstappen has gained that position. He's probably going to gain on us now. Verstappen, although he's conserving at the moment, although we can't really do much about it. We can't really push these tyres much more, although we can do. We've got overtake mode to see if we can keep that over Verstappen. We do have a lot of tyre left with Kubica, so the tyres are going to overheat. Meanwhile, we'll just keep his Sorokin in 7th. There's no way he can catch up to Verstappen. We'll just sort of look after these tyres just in case Van Dorn puts in a late effort to try and get past him, but as it is, Van Dorn's watching his tyres as well, so we can sort of cool these tyres down. Kubica, meanwhile, we've got nearly a second gap now over Verstappen, and we'll go back. We'll go back up more for a little bit. That might let Verstappen catch up, although he's doing the same as well, so we'll cool these tyres down and then we'll push on them again in a little bit. Meanwhile, Sorokin, Van Dorn's catching him, but we can just turn up these tyres once again. As we see, we've got Verstappen making that move, but if we start to push now, we're going to lose this. Oh, we are going to lose it. Verstappen really pushing. Can we make that back? I don't think we can. Kept it in backup mode a little bit too long. We didn't want the tyres fading away, but we had enough. I don't think we could have held off Verstappen anyway. That Red Bull really quick this season. There's no point when we've got... Although everything's seemingly holding together pretty well. Might be able to go high mode for the last little bit of this Grand Prix. Sorokin, meanwhile, we'll just let him idle away there. He's going to finish in the points for the first time this season. Bits there. Yeah, if we'd have pushed these tyres anymore, they would have just fallen off before the end. Although I doubt we'd have lost many places, but there we go. Kubica finishes 6th. His teammate Sorokin will finish behind him in 7th place. Vettel has won the Grand Prix. Hamilton 2nd, Ricciardo 3rd, Bottas 4th, Verstappen 5th, Van Dorn 8th, Alonso 9th, Raikkonen 10th. Grosjean finished outside the points, which gives us an extra point above them. Now, oh no, we have actually lost. We lost a few, didn't we? Because Kubica has finished a little bit further down, but that still puts us up into 6th place in the constructors' standings. Absolutely amazing result for them. Makes us definitely safe until the end of the season. Checking cars, we might be able to pick up a place here. We have seen a few cars already demoted a few places. No, Max Verstappen got a drive-through penalty for some reason. Kubica 6th, Sorokin 7th, as we already know. Kubica now 9th in the driver's standings. A really good season for him. His second points finish of the season. Sorokin picks up his first points of the season. We are 6th overall. So Kubica getting a little bit happier now, up to 85%. He wasn't wanting to stay with us after this season, possibly going to be staying with us. Sorokin doesn't have much upside. He might be going depending on how he performs over the rest of the season. We came 4th overall in that race, which is our best. No, it can't, because we scored 15 points in one Grand Prix. We must have finished best overall in that Grand Prix. 600,000 or so coming into the team. I think we should have enough money going into next season. F2 results, Callum Illett won the Grand Prix in Dorian. Boccolacci in second. This is GP3, isn't it? Jake Hughes in second in the drivers. Constructors are still comfortably winning there. They're going to see themselves in F2 and the F2 team moving up to F1 potentially. So let's just have a quick look at the mail interview with F1 Racing Magazine. After his win today, we were wondering if you had any thoughts on Sebastian Vettel. We'd just say we'd love to have him at the team, which would make him open to signing with us if we wanted to go ahead and do that, although I guess he would want too much money for what we're developing. We want as much money back. He's rated as the 3rd overall best driver in the game. Fernando is rated the best, Hamilton 2nd, Vettel 3rd. 100% marketability, would be open to signing with us. Although that is a little bit too unrealistic to make me charge after that signing. Got 2 new pit crew to look at signings wise. Nothing really there. We've got some tyre pit crew that I'll have to replace for the next race. If we've got our best pit crew on the board, we can usually be under 2 seconds. We're pretty slow at the moment. What was the pit stop time like for the last race? A 2.5. That is almost 8/10 slower than our season record. That's quite a long time. Almost 1.6 seconds, or just over 1.6 seconds for 2 stops, although that wouldn't have really made a difference to what happened, although it could have done. What were we behind? That 1.6 seconds is enough to have had us in 5th place, so the pit crew does seem to get fatigued really quickly. It's a little bit unrealistic that we have to change so many people each race. I don't know, but anyway, another decent race there. We've got Munich coming up next time, which looks to be sunny. 32 laps, tyre wear is very low there, fuel burns low there as well. It's not going to be a good course for us, I reckon. Suspension, brakes, acceleration, not good things for us, so we might struggle at that one. Don't think we might be finishing outside the points. It would be wonderful if we could get more points and try and extend our lead over Haas. Maybe we could, although it's a little bit unrealistic for us to be chasing down this points total of Force India. I don't think we would be able to get to that. But anyway, that is it for this episode. If you're not already subscribed, hit that subscribe button, hit that like button, follow me on Twitter. The Twitter handle's up in the top right hand corner of this video, or at least it should be if I've remembered to put it there. But anyway, until next time, I'll see you down the road in Munich for the German Grand Prix. Goodbye.